Well, good afternoon. It is February 3rd, just a minute after 3 o'clock. I would like to start the meeting, but now that we have this new system where we have to let people in from the lobby, it's like my doorbell keeps ringing, like those little trick-or-treaters. So do I have an OSIS person? Because I don't have the divided attention control to like keep listening to that beeping and start the, the
Go
meeting. I'm
ahead,
going to be,
Sarah, start the meeting. I'll watch the lobby and admit people. This is
thank you
Marietta.
so much, Marietta. Yes, I'm just going to stop, stop listening. Thank you.
Well,
All right. So, what's
you in
that?
that.
Oh, this is a good time to remind people to please mute your microphones. And as I put in the email that went out today, if you have a Snowmageddon picture you'd like to share, please feel free to put it over in the chat. Look at that, per the email request, here is my snow pic, daughter and dog. Great, thank you, Chrissy. I love it. Gotta have a little fun, right? Yes. All right. So I am about to, let's see, share my screen. Excuse me. Excuse me. Just it really is a test of your ability to pay attention to one thing only and let that doorbell not interrupt you. All right. Oh, somebody else? No. So a couple of people sent in their questions in advance. So I went ahead and wrote them in the chat, and Ann Moore jumped right on and answered the questions. So if the people who sent me those questions feel comfortable enough, we can, thank you, Shannon, will,
Sarah,
yes, ma'am.
Sarah, this is Ann. Let me give my disclaimer before we go any further here.
Okay, all right, yes, ma'am.
That is the information that has long been used as guidance. Some of those are now retired documents, and are not, but they're the most current that we had. So we do want to let you know that that is not something that is on the website. It is not something to, go forth and conquer using all that information all the time. But if you have specific questions, certainly call me, and know that we are updating them now that some of you, thank you, have asked the questions, so that we have been able to determine that there is now an additional current need to address that. Now, the accreditation standards were just in 23-24. I don't know that has the caseloads, class sizes, all that in it. I don't know if there is a new one of those or not, but the required credentials, and there's an 86-page document. You only have the ones related specifically to special ed. And I will say that the questions I have gotten about that have been related to HR issues largely. If I have a teacher applying who's certified in this, what can they teach? Kinds of questions when they're trying to fill a position in a particular caseload. So certainly it is guidance. It is a place to start. But if you have a specific question about something in your district, please just give us a call, and we'll look at it specifically case by case. And know that we're working on now updating it to get it into the current record, so that everything will be in one place for one-stop shopping, and we'll have all the information that you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you. That's very helpful.
And this is Wendy Height. I had emailed some of those questions.
Yes, you did.
My problem is, if I'm trying to hire a teacher now and I'm going on whatever information in these 3 documents that I have, and then y'all change it and update it, what's going to happen? I mean, it's taken me hours along with my HR person to figure out some of this stuff.
Right. And Wendy, the answer to that is going to be like it always is. I mean, if we have changed the guidance in the middle, then what I would say from a program review standpoint, which is when I do the reviews of staffing primarily, is that we are not going to make a finding based on that. We will issue some guidance as to correct it as soon as you can, look for appropriate staffing, look as your caseloads change, the ways you can address the problem without an official finding of noncompliance. Because at the time you would have made the decision, it would have been, as far as you knew, compliant with the current information that we have available.
Okay, so back to my original question, and I know for some of the directors, this isn't relevant yet for their situation, but
Right?
this is my situation. I have a teacher licensed in early childhood and special ed early childhood. So
Right.
I go to that document, the updated document, the information's not in there for special ed. And then
Correct.
I go to the one that you referenced, the developmental delay part, and I'm going through all the different columns. So the early childhood is only acceptable for 18-19 and then 19-20. So then I go down and click on the guidelines and requirements for adding. Like there's 3 different places I'm supposed to be going, and it's
There are.
convoluted.
Yeah, and it's
And you
3 to
don't know
5.
it's a problem until you have to look it up and
That
deal
is
with it.
correct. You are absolutely correct. And we'll consider any changes that you might recommend from having worked with it. As we format the new information we're going to develop, because it will be, we're thinking at this point, it'll be a spreadsheet, easier to follow, easier to access. But the early childhood special ed, ages 3 to 5, we all like to think it's for everything, everybody, but according to this chart, it's not. So we do recognize that there are some changes that need to be made. And while our office will be looking at that, we will certainly consider input from folks who have expressed the concerns and have already addressed these issues from the district perspective, because I'd recognize that I'm looking at it from the State Department perspective, and we don't want to make life harder for you. Goodness knows it's hard enough. So we would consider, what did you consider? How did you consider? What was your plan? What efforts did you make? And then we would say, okay, correct as you can. Get into the newer guidance once the newer guidance comes out. But certainly you cannot be held for not considering guidance that doesn't exist yet.
Well, the one last thing I'd like to share is I'd like y'all to think about it from a recruitment perspective.
Okay.
If I'm a
Right.
teacher coming from outside of the state of South Carolina, and it's going to take me an hour or 2 to look on the website to figure out what I can teach, that's a
Right.
problem.
That I would agree. I would agree with you. And we hope that what we're getting ready, what we're working on, will provide some clarity for that, and certainly will make it quicker and easier to find that information, because ultimately who would determine what certification codes that person would be issued is not us, it's the Office of Certification. So, but we're trying to get in closer, get linked more clearly with them and address the things that somehow have slipped through the cracks or have gotten out of date, and trying to get everything now current again.
Why was
So I do
special ed
appreciate
not
that.
at the
I
table when they
do.
were putting this document out?
I'm sorry, what?
Why was special ed not at the table when they were putting this document out?
I don't know that.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
moving on.
there was special ed was at the table about for certain aspects of it. So there's 2 different things. One, you can see that it repeats the statement that has always been in about the majority being the determinant for purposes of caseload. So there was involvement. We have been interacting. It was just the document, that the required credentials document went out with all of the list of all the certification areas, right? Since it's not a subject matter, it would be different for special education. So it's just tying that to the disability category. But we've also been working with them on possibly redoing the credential system altogether in South Carolina for special ed. So that's a piece, and some districts have been invited to participate in that. So that is another piece that we're looking at. But what districts have been saying, and what you've been saying, Wendy, is this need to pair with the certification with which disability categories would fall within that. For the most part, we don't intend to deviate significantly from what you saw in the 18-19. I mean, in many of these categories, for example, autism, a lot of different certification areas would apply for that because the scope of the spectrum is so broad that it just depends. Another thing to keep in mind is it's not just about do you have the right certification. It's that doesn't guarantee that it's fake for the student. So it would you have to match that as well. So if the student's has an area of need, their primary area of need, and the things that they're going to be instructed on are not things that specific teacher has expertise on, that could cause an issue, and that would be something not determined by our program review or anything like that. It would most likely come up in either a state complaint or due process complaint. So that's a separate item, is can they provide the instruction that child requires. So that's just a clarification of it. But I think what we're hearing loud and clear is it would be helpful to have something similar to this so that we have an idea for what we look at when we do a program review, which is the only place where we look at this caseload issue. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so here is our agenda for today. Click. First, we're starting with Sherry Schneider from the Office of Educator Services, and she's going to talk to us about this required credentials, the new document that came out for the 25-26 school year. And we have some folks here on board to answer any SPED questions. So do you have more questions for Sherry or otherwise?
Hi, it seems like a hot topic right now. So I'm Sherry Schneider. I'm from the Office of Educator Services. And so we do educator certification in my group. And what we do as far as required credentials is we are responsible for assembling it. So during the year, this past summer, we reach out to all the offices, all the instructional programs, math, PE, arts, everyone, and we say, here are all your courses. Who can teach these courses, so that I can then put it into a format that we can publish out. And that's what our office does. So we have 4 different spreadsheets and an opening document that's included with the new required credentials. We kind of broke it up. So CTE was all in one place, 712, PK6, and then your school district staffing in another. And the blurb that Peter referred to regarding special education is in the overview document. So I can certainly answer any questions about how to navigate the documents or how the documents are created, if anybody has any. Okay.
Now there is a question in the chat. It says for clarity, and I'm not sure who would want to take this, if it's going to be Anne or Jenny, Peter, Sherry. So for clarity, does the majority caseload allow us to use the 1819 document to determine if the class does not have any categories in current certifications? For example, a class has 50% autism and 50% DD school-age students. There is not certification for autism or DD other than multi-cat. As a result, if I look at the 1819 document, I can find certs that work, such as ED or ID.
That would be a question for Peter.
Yeah,
Or your
I mean
team.
that we've been interpreting it. Yes, for autism, we don't have an autism certification, so that's correct. So any of those that were listed at those, I mean, some of the problem with the 1819 document is that it was referring to some that have been obviously retired. I mean, and there are asterisks there, but since then, others have been inactive, and that the current document that Sherry's talking about has the list of inactive designations and active, so that you have that, because sometimes you might have somebody whose certification refers to one that is not currently active. But the answer, Beth, would be that yes, if you look at that, the certs that apply would be the ones that that if the majority fell within, if there was a majority autism, then they could be certified in all those areas. So, I mean, we try to interpret it liberally, and given that category is, is a spectrum, you want to account for, it could be a wide variety of folks that would be able to teach that class. Once again, though, I mean, this isn't like, when you speak of certification, when we do this check as far as the majority of the caseload, I just want to make clear, it's my attorney's caveat this time. Just because you assign somebody who has a certification doesn't mean they're providing the right kind of instruction for FAPE necessarily. I mean, that would obviously be a case-by-case determination if challenged or if tested, and would be dependent upon that particular teacher's abilities and expertise and knowledge. So, like I said, with autism, if, for example, if the primary concern and the primary issue that's being worked on with that particular student happens to be behavioral, they should be paired with somebody, or the person providing the instruction should be somebody who's appropriate for that type of instruction.
And then somebody asked for the information, the links in the chat, so we just added them there. They are both in your special ed
Sarah,
leadership.
just give them the one to the current document. That's what we're saying.
Okay.
The
Okay.
1819 was just for illustration.
Gotcha.
It's not a current document, so we'll be updating that. They can certainly refer to it, and it's in the Google Drive, but it's not.
Okay.
I just want to make clear that that's not a current document that's being
Gotcha.
used. So what we're hearing is that it would be helpful to have a crosswalk like that, using the current certification categories.
If I can clarify one thing, when Peter was talking and everyone's been talking about the majority of students in an area, we're looking at the majority of the students on the caseload in question in any area for which that teacher matches the certification code. So for the autism, for example, if a teacher has 3 students who are LD, 2 who are ED, 1 who's ID, whatever, those would all add together and count towards the 50% that are in area for that teacher. So it's not, we look at numbers by disability category, but it is the cumulative total that determines the 50%. It's not 50% in an area, it's 50% in any area in which that person is appropriately certified.
And this
So I
is
think
the
Wendy was asking, yeah. I mean, you're basically looking at both right now, Wendy, in a way. But the bottom line is that look at the certificate, that's the certification document has the current certifications in it. So you'd have to look to that too. But in combination with that, we're not looking to upset the cart as far as what people have been working off of before. So we will be looking at updating this so you have the crosswalk in one place. But we haven't changed our guidance as to all the different certification categories that were in existence at the time could serve, let's say, students with autism. So that hasn't changed. Like I said, this comes up in different contexts. And we're saying for purposes of program review, we've always allowed we've viewed it the same way. So we're working on a crosswalk that would help. Because
Okay,
we know
this is
that
Wendy
one's outdated.
again. I'm best with examples, and back to my original question. And I think people probably don't have questions because they haven't encountered this yet. And, in the hiring process, it is dog eat dog. Like, we get applicants, we're trying to fill them because we're all competing against the same lack of people that are out there. But I don't know for time's sake, because it looks like the agenda is more informational items on the team stuff. Could you walk through and show us the example? If my teacher is early childhood and special ed early childhood certified, what can he or she teach? Because I go to that required credentials document that you're showing right now. I'm not seeing, I mean, we have the Power School codes in there, I think. And then I go to page 9 and click on the link and it takes me to the state law. So I don't know. I'm just as confused as I was before. I appreciate all the explanation, and maybe it's just too many e-learning days we've had and I'm not understanding, but
I can say that early childhood special ed is our only certification that is by ages. So it's students age 3 to 5. So I don't know that they would have anything other than developmentally delayed. That's not my area of expertise, but as a former principal, most of my students that were, pre-K that age were developmentally delayed. But
can they
I
have
don't know,
kindergartners?
Peter, I guess you could speak more to that.
They can have age 3 to 5.
So they could have kindergartners.
They could.
Okay.
But
And
is that the majority of their caseload too
Of the
would come
caseload,
into
yeah, we'd have to look at that.
come into play?
And I hear you saying about that's what we look at for program review. I am concerned about parents that all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, I'm not finding this licensure and I'm going to take you to a hearing and teacher wasn't licensed, even though I thought the teacher was licensed based on all this information. And now we have to provide compensatory services for an entire year because their understanding is different. So, anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. I appreciate all of the input. If any other directors on here have any more clarification, just feel free to email me.
Peter, there was another question on here that said, can you give a TLDR overview of any changes related to SPED? That was from Jenny Gast.
Yeah. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Mm-hmm. Can you give a TL semicolon DR overview of any changes related to SPED? Jenny, what do you mean by TL semicolon DR? Nope. Just looking for the unmute button.
It's too long, didn't read, Sarah.
I'm sorry?
Too long, didn't read.
Oh, too long, didn't read. Thank you, Lynette. Gotcha. Need a summary. Gotcha. The other question is age 5 when? First day of school or what?
Yeah, I mean, I'll defer to Anne as far as how we look at it from a program review perspective. I mean, once again, this isn't a FAPE issue. It's just if we're looking at the students. I mean, if they're in kindergarten, Anne, how do you look at that? If they're in
Right.
kindergarten, they might have turned 6 during the school year.
I was going to say it is one of those, a snapshot in time. So if they are in the 3 age at the time of review, of course, we don't question it. And age 3 is they're not going to be with us until the 3rd birthday, but it's whenever they enter until we would give you for program review to the end of that year. Because again, we don't have anything else anywhere to go from there at this point, but we try, as Peter said, we try to be not as as hard-nosed about it as on Tuesday you're 5 and on Wednesday you're 6, so you got to go to a different caseload. We would certainly not approach it from that standpoint. We would say this child is turning 6. When you're writing the next IEP, they need to be, whatever for 6s, just like anything else that changes as students age.
I just wanted to say back to Wendy's comment, I understand why you're confused by this, and we are going to be working on updating that list and providing something similar to what was shared with you that's outdated. So that will be coming.
I appreciate that, but I'm hiring teachers now
I
for
know.
August. So just keep that in mind.
We will. We're not looking to change anything. We're just looking to clarify and smooth it out a little bit. It's the law hasn't changed any, so it should be similar to your hiring practices in the past, I would think.
When you have any, if there's a specific concern that truly, as it arises, give us a call and we'll be happy to try to walk through it with you. We'll be the sounding board. You can be the sounding board because we want to make sure we understand all the concerns that you have. So as we try to correct this, we address everything that you are concerned about. We don't want to forget something, and we don't want you to go without some kind of guidance. It certainly wouldn't be any regulation or anything issued formally at this point, but if I tell you something that later turns out to be wrong, that's on me. So I certainly want you to know that you and all everybody else, we will do the best we can do given what we have as we're trying to fix the problem, which is, I know, what you all do all the time anyway.
I think they're asking if there was changes to the requirements. There weren't any significant
There were
changes.
not. There were no additional changes,
The
no.
new credentials documents is merely an update.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, there weren't any significant changes to. We've been interpreting this the same for years.
Another
In-
question referencing the 5-year-old age, I believe, is September 1 is still a law, correct? Is
that
that
has to.
what-
That's a statute as to when the September 1 is when you have to serve a child till for aging out, unless there's another September 1 regulation.
There's a September 1 statute with regard to kindergarten.
Oh, for when they're eligible for kindergarten. Well, like I said, I don't think we've, I don't remember seeing anything that if a child, was 5 at the time that the class was formed, we've used that. So. We I mean, the first thing is that we understand this is a shortage area. So when we go out and review, like I said, it's really, we just look at caseload. So when you're hiring, to me, you have to know what your caseload is. You're not going to have exact, but you're going to have anticipated. So that would be the first starting point, is to figure out, okay, what's going to be the demographics of the students that I'm expecting this teacher to teach. And like I said, we typically, when we have some issues that come up, a lot of the times it can be resolved just from some caseload changes that are made. We always allow for that, that full year for correction. So it's not, and sometimes you can't create people. So we understand that. So what we're looking for is just, is the district making reasonable efforts to find qualified and certified staff? If they are, we completely understand that. I mean, you can't, if there isn't somebody with that particular qualification that applies for the job, then you wouldn't be expected to make that change. But we do accept reasonable efforts, in attending job fairs, posting, interviewing. That's all you can do. You can't create someone out of that.
And I lost track of who said it, but someone mentioned maybe a Google Doc. So after you've had time to digest the information and you have more questions, you could put your questions on there. I'm happy to create that. Peter, if you think that's a good idea, I could send the link out to everybody and they could put their questions on there if you like that, or they can just email their questions directly to me. and I'll create
Yeah,
a
there are
document.
some questions, and there's some questions about the I think the numbers for special ed classes too. But yeah, we can collect those and do a Q&A.
Okay.
All right. I think there was a question as far as the, I'd have to go back to look at the statute Barbara's on. I don't think that the student teacher ratio has changed since 2017. Is that correct, Barbara?
That is correct, not for special ed.
Yeah, that has not changed. So Brandy had asked about that, but yeah, that's in regulation and it's been the same since 2017.
Those specific numbers are in that accreditation standards for special ed starting on page 16. If you don't want to read through the whole thing, fine.
Okay, well, if there's not any more, trying to give enough wait time. There was a question about ECSE caseloads. Can you respond to that one? Early childhood special education caseloads.
We'd have to look to the statute, I mean, in that regard, or the regulations, I mean, so I'd have to pull it up. I don't know. Barbara, does it address that, early childhood classes?
It doesn't, is beyond like with the 4-year-old, it talks about the 20, the cap of 20 students per class. And that's more across the board. It's with the 4-year-old preschool classes are more than 20.
Oh, Barbara said, yeah, Barbara, they just were having a hard time. I don't know with your mic, but basically it just has the general ed numbers, which are up to 20, I believe.
Yes, 20.
20. So 20 is the max for early childhood, and that applies to all classes, not just special ed. So there aren't specific ratios in the regulations. All right. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's so once again, this is not what's set by a maximum or a ratio is not indicative of necessarily what's fate for an individual student. So I would agree. The composition of the class would mean a lot. So what the maximums are just put out there as you cannot exceed, and that's the way it's been in place for a while. I don't, think that it's the best system. There's a lot of other systems, and so we definitely have been considering and looking at developing more of a load model rather than just a caseload individual student count model. Some states have moved to that. There's been a variance around it. It definitely has been recommended by CEC. They prefer that model. So does SC, CASE as well. And I think they've put out a good amount of literature on that. So so that's also to consider. But once again, just because it's not up to the maximum, you could have classes where you might be approaching the max, but it might not be FAPE for the students within it. In other words, you could be within the regulatory guidelines, but it's not a guarantee that that's FAPE. And Barbara, put that in the chat in more concise language.
20 is simply a cap. All decisions should be made based on the needs of the children.
Yeah, this is a big one where I receive a lot of calls from the teacher organizations where teachers are contacting Paramedical State Teachers Association or SCEA, and they're saying we're within the caseload requirements, but because of the needs of the children, behavior, not being potty trained, medical needs, that I simply can't provide the children a FAPE.
All right, Sarah, I think we're
Go on to the next one. Okay. So next we have our SC Teams update, starting with Academic Alliance. Deanna.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wanted to let you know tomorrow, an exciting opportunity. Our Teacher Toolkit Community of Practice will feature members of the Charleston County School District Assistive Technology Team. So hop on and join for this Community of Practice at 3:30. Our next slide does feature our MTSS Summit Series, which is happening for February. So if you were signed up for the January reading comprehension, that was rescheduled for next Monday and Tuesday. So we hope you can still join us to work with Dr. Devin Kearns in Columbia. And then our first ever writing series will happen the following week on the 17th and 18th in Columbia as well. So 2 this month. So double feature for our MTSS series. You can go forward for me, please. On the 11th, our Evidence-Based Practice Network will feature effective scheduling for students with disabilities, featuring a principal from Lancaster County. You guys may know him. He is famous for being the son of Dr. Susan Thomas, but Graham Thomas has done a lot of wonderful things as an administrator scheduling students with disabilities, and we're getting many requests for that this time of year. So we hope if you can't join, you'll share and or at least catch up on the recording from this event happening next week. I hope you all planning to join us for the CEC pre-conference coming up at the end of the month. We will be hosting a pre-conference event that is free. It is a double session, so we have a different session in the morning than the afternoon. You don't have to sign up for both. We will be focusing on literacy and mathematics on this day. Plus, we'll have sessions throughout the conference for the Academic Alliance strand. So you can check those out through these links and register. Our calendar and our events are linked here if you'd like them all in one place. And of course, we'd love for you to sign up for our newsletter, and you'll get all this information right in your mailbox at the beginning of the month.
Thanks, Deanna. And I put your name on this one too.
Yeah, I'm a double feature today.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm also going to promote the SC CEC pre-conference event. We hope that you will join us as leaders. The hot topic is AI in special education, so we're excited to host this event for leaders who are interested in learning more about AI and special ed, and we will have lunch provided and time for your teams to have action planning. So please join us for the event. If you come to the conference and aren't able to come to the pre-conference, we are having a case members meeting that afternoon on the 26th. So that's free to come to if you'd like to join our members meeting as well. So this QR code will take you to the link to our event website where you can register and get some more information. And here's the flyer for the pre-conference event that Sarah so kindly put in the folder. Please share it out. We'd love to have a lot of people attend. You don't have to be a case member to attend, but there's a little difference in the fee. That might be all for me.
Just muting a participant.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank you
you
so much, Deanna. That's wonderful. So Skippy is next with Dana Bennett.
Yes. We want you to come join us soon for our February 9th, 2026 CET Academy information session. And at that session, we will talk more about the CET and CET cohorts. So we hope you'll join us for that. And go to the next slide. Following so at the pre-conference at SC CEC, we will have a full day of using the 4th edition of the Building Blocks training. And it's Building Blocks for Teaching Young Children in Inclusive Settings. It's a brand new book, and everyone gets a free book. They'll receive that book and learn valuable curriculum modifications and adaptations, as well as explore embedded learning opportunities and child-focused instructional strategies. Next slide. There we go. And following the pre-conference, Kippy will sponsor an early childhood strand of sessions, including the ones you see here. To learn more about these offerings, click on the link or use the QR code. I'll tell you more about that. Next slide. All right. So we'd love to have you join us virtually for lunch this March as we work to build and strengthen cross-sector partnerships among community early childhood care and education providers, early intervention programs, and school district preschool programs. We'd love to see a few more district preschool programs sign up. This community of practice offers a valuable opportunity to build those relationships that we can use to expand and strengthen the preschool continuum of services in your district and across the state of South Carolina. Next slide. And then we'd love to have you join us for our next PLC, and it's the Early Childhood Data Accuracy Through Understanding Professional Learning Community, designed to strengthen data collection and reporting in preschool programs. Together, we'll explore how accurate data improves programs, ensures IDA compliance, and supports positive outcomes for children with disabilities. And renewal credits and endeavors credits will be available. You can click the link or use the QR code to register for that. And in the next slide, we're really excited to share that beginning this year, the South Carolina Partnerships for Inclusion, the South Carolina Child Care Inclusion Collaborative, and Pyramid Pieces are joining forces to merge multiple events into the one comprehensive annual statewide conference, United for Every Child, Inclusion, and the Pyramid Model in Action. By unifying all of our efforts into one conference, the events strengthens cross-sector collaboration, which is something we all want and has been asked for. It focuses on advancing evidence-based inclusion and pyramid model practices while building leadership capacity to support high-quality early childhood programs for all young children in South Carolina, which is also what we want. Join us as we come together and united for every child. The call for proposals is now open through February 20th at the link that you see here. So if you know somebody that is a leader in something that you would really like to see them share, or that person is yourself, please go ahead and submit a proposal at that link. Participants that attend that event can earn continuing education credits for the full event. South Carolina Endeavors credits will be available as well. Participants would provide necessary information when registering to get those credits. And Part C credential credits for those early intervention providers will also be available for select sessions if you're sharing that information with anybody else. So join us for any and all of these to help us build belonging across South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Next up, we have Joy Ivester.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I just wanted to quickly remind all of you that we are out here for you to provide support. Even those of you who met the requirements this year in the areas of graduation and dropout, career readiness transition, as well as the South Carolina employability credential. I wanted to, and I guess next slide. Call your attention to a couple of communities of practice that we have going on. If you go to these pages, there'll be more information about those individual sessions for the credential and for career readiness. And you can jump in at any point in time, send this on to your teachers. The dates are on there, and there's a couple of dates that have already passed, and there should be videos on there, or will be posted shortly if you've missed, but your team can certainly jump on now. Graduate SC is kind of our new logo and branding for our efforts to improve graduation rates across South Carolina. We're working with A.B. Coleman's office and the National Dropout Prevention Center to affect change in this area, with, of course, tasks focusing specifically on students with disabilities. We have a couple of opportunities coming up for your districts and schools. The statewide Dropout Prevention Symposium is the first ever one-day event for South Carolina local teams and leaders that are interested in coming together with other local teams to update graduation plans at the school level. So high school graduation teams learn more from other teams and from the National Dropout Prevention Center, and walk out with an action plan to help affect change back in those local schools. We are encouraging teams to come, but if you have an individual who would like to come and learn more about what's going on in the state, that'd be great. April 30th is the date for that. It's in Columbia at the Alumni Center, and the registration can be found on the graduatesc.org page. For those of you who have high schools who have not yet attended a Diploma Planning Institute, this is a 3-day event. This summer will be July 7th through 9th. We've held 9 of these so far and have nearly 100 teams that have participated. And basically, this is the National Dropout Prevention Center coming in to work with those school-based teams to learn more about evidence-based practices, how to pull data specific to your team needs, and then to develop strategic plans for improvement. And we've seen some great movement with districts and schools with the graduation and dropout rates that have attended these events in the past. We're really excited about this work and the quick change that can happen when schools are focusing on those areas of practice, such as attendance and behavior and academic support. So those are 2 dates, and then both of those are going to, I think that the Diploma Planning Institute in July is not yet, registration is not yet open, but the symposium definitely is. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So then go ahead, Sarah, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. So at CEC, TASK will be there again, providing sessions during the conference, but we also are hosting 2 pre-conference sessions. This is free. And we have space available for the strategic instruction model at 9 o'clock in the morning, the paraphrasing strategy, and then in the afternoon, we're going to be doing possible sales. It's free, and you can register there or by going to our website. And then a couple of additional opportunities that are coming along. The employability credential, we know that there's a lot of need out there as changes, in staff take place, and then updates to some of our resources. So we're trying to continue to push out information, training, support in that area. We're going to be creating a virtual learning series that will be led by some of our district leaders, as well as Kim Watkins and Jennifer Wall. We've got details coming soon. Keep an eye on our newsletter for updates. If you do not get our newsletter, you can go to our website, scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page to register for that. Summer University, again, we're going to be offering 2 sessions, and we're focusing kind of on back to the basics. So we'll have a transition 101 for those who need a brush up on those basics and assessment and planning. And then also the credential will be hosting that session. So that's it, I think. Unless that was not my slide.
Nope, it's your slide.
Okay.
Well, I think you have, wait, hang on. Oh, and one more.
Okay, real quick.
2
You've
more,
seen this
actually.
before. So we have a couple of virtual learning modules that are on our website. Please go to the task app to find those and share those with your teachers if you're interested.
And
that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Joy. Peter, I just have this slide to let them know when the next 2 meetings are, but do you have something you would like to close out the meeting with?
No, I mean, basically, I appreciate everybody, they had asked about the new required credentials document, which really didn't modify much for special ed. So that's why we put it on the agenda. It was requested to just have a Q&A for that. So we invited our certification office to see if people had questions about the document, but it seemed like as it developed that it was a need for additional guidance. So we'll be addressing that. But we haven't really been interpreting it any different than we have for years. And once again, when we see it in program review, we work with the district to talk to them about the specific case, and it's almost impossible to do without looking at caseloads. So we'll continue to do that. And once again, it's a couple different statutes that come into play. Obviously, there's the caseload maximums that are put in regulations. There's the discussion of being within certification and the majority of students in the class. And also, the certification areas. So tying that all together. So we understand it can be confusing, and we're certainly willing to work on stuff that can help provide clarity in that area. So anyway, I know a number of you have been asking. We're going to be hopefully putting together some information and materials to talk to you guys about for the academic seminar at high school. I know we've gotten some questions already about that. So we have some draft documents that we intend to air. We're hoping to get that for the February 17th meeting. And then I know that we're looking to reschedule Barbara Drayton on the homebound discussion as well. So, but we'll those are the 2 that would be the upcoming ones. So. And maybe we can squeeze them both in if you guys want to. It might take a little bit more than an hour next time, but I think Barbara said she was available on the 17th too. So those are the 2 topics.
Okay. Great. Well, if there are no more questions, we'll close our meeting for today. And thank you for your attendance. And we'll see you again on February 17th. Have a great evening.